She was holding her daughter's hand with one arm and a coffee cup with the other. He was wearing a $1,500 suit and carrying the weight of a dying company on his shoulders. In 30 seconds, he would look at a woman in work boots and make a judgment that would cost him everything. This is the story of how one man's prejudice destroyed his career, and how a single mother who had been underestimated her entire life finally got to speak her truth. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. This happened in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a Tuesday morning in March of last year. Valerie Hoisington woke up at 4:30 in the morning, the way she had every workday for the past 12 years. Her daughter, Lisa, was still asleep in the next room. Valerie moved quietly through their small apartment, making coffee, packing Lisa's lunch, laying out her school clothes. By 5:15, she was gently shaking her daughter awake. "Come on, baby. Time to get up." Lisa, 9 years old with her mother's eyes and her late father's smile, groaned and buried her face in the pillow. This was their routine. Valerie would drop Lisa off at her neighbor's apartment downstairs at 5:45. Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher, would give Lisa breakfast and walk her to the school bus at 8. After school, Lisa would go to the aftercare program until Valerie could pick her up, usually around 6. It wasn't perfect. Valerie missed school plays and parent-teacher conferences. She missed the mornings when other mothers walked their kids to the bus stop. But it was what she had to do. Construction sites opened early, and Valerie needed to be there before the crews arrived. Not because she was just a worker, because she owned the company. And nobody knew that except the people who needed to. Valerie had built Hoisington Construction from the ground up after her husband Joseph died in a workplace accident 8 years ago. Joseph had been a site supervisor, and his death left Valerie with a baby, a mountain of medical debt, and a choice. She could take the insurance settlement, find a stable office job, and play it safe. Or she could take the money, buy Joseph's failing contracting business from his former partners, and bet everything on herself. She chose to bet, and she won. But it cost her 12-hour days, endless nights reviewing contracts and blueprints while Lisa slept, dealing with contractors who wouldn't take orders from a woman, investors who questioned every decision, clients who assumed she was the secretary, not the CEO. So Valerie developed a strategy. She dressed like a site manager. She wore the vest, the boots, the hard hat. She showed up at job sites unannounced, checked the work herself, talked to the crews directly. Most people assumed she was just another worker, and that was fine with her. It kept her grounded. It kept her honest. It reminded her where she came from. On this particular Tuesday morning, Valerie was heading to the Meridian Plaza, the crown jewel of her company's portfolio. 40 stories of glass and steel in the heart of downtown Charlotte. The biggest project she'd ever taken on. She'd been working on the building for 14 months, and today was supposed to be the day she finalized a major partnership with Wayne Carter, a prominent real estate developer. His company would handle the leasing and property management. Her company would continue building. Together they'd make millions. Valerie pulled into the underground parking garage of the Meridian Plaza at 7:45, Lisa beside her in the passenger seat. She'd kept her daughter home from school that morning because the aftercare program was closed for a teacher planning day. Lisa would sit in the office during the meeting, doing homework and reading. It wasn't ideal, but Valerie had learned to make things work. "You good, baby?" Valerie asked as she parked the car. Lisa nodded, clutching her backpack. "Can I get hot chocolate from the vending machine?" Valerie smiled. "After the meeting. I promise." They got out of the car, and Valerie grabbed her coffee cup from the center console, tucking her rolled-up building plans under her other arm. She was still wearing her work clothes, The bright orange safety vest over a hoodie, the steel-toed boots, the hard hat clipped to her belt. She planned to change into her business suit before the meeting, but she wanted to do a quick walkthrough of the site first. As they walked toward the service elevator, Lisa was chattering about a book she was reading for school. Valerie was listening, smiling, her mind already shifting to the checklist for the day. That's when she heard the footsteps behind her, fast and aggressive. She turned slightly, and before she could react,
serious right
a
now?
man in an expensive
His voice was
suit
sharp,
collided with her
echoing
through the concrete garage. Her coffee
Do you
cup
have
any
tipped?
idea how much
Splashing
the suit
lukewarm
costs?
liquid
Across the front of his
Valerie
jacket
pulled
and down
Lisa
onto his
closer to her.
shoes. Some of it splashed onto Lisa's
It was an
sneakers too.
accident.
The girl
didn't
gasped
see you
and
coming
jumped
around
back.
the corner.
Valerie
Let me help.
immediately steadied
But
her
Wayne
daughter,
wasn't
listening, then
He
looked up
was
at the man.
spiraling.
I'm
18
so
months of
sorry.
failures, of
Are
pressure,
you
of
okay?
desperation.
But Wayne
all
Carter
coming out in
wasn't
that moment.
looking at Lisa,
And she was the
he
target.
was staring at the brown stains
You
spreading
think you
across
can
his
help?
custom-tailored
You
suit.
just ruined a
His face turning
$1,500
red
jacket.
with rage. Do you even make that much in a month? Valerie's jaw tightened. Lisa was looking up at the man with wide eyes, and Valerie could feel her daughter's small hand gripping her own tighter. Sir, it was an accident. I can pay for the dry cleaning if... Wayne laughed. It was a cruel sound. Dry cleaning. This is custom tailored. You couldn't afford to replace a button on this suit with your paycheck. He looked Valerie up and down, his eyes cold and dismissive. Then his gaze shifted to Lisa, and something even uglier crossed his face. Let me guess. Single mother. Government assistance? You're probably here because of some diversity quota, right? Because I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I know exactly what you people are doing here. Valerie felt something shift inside her. She'd heard worse. She'd dealt with worse. But not in front of her daughter. Not directed at her child. You should be careful what you assume about people, she said quietly, her voice steady but cold. Wayne scoffed. I don't assume. I observe. And what I observe is someone who doesn't belong in a professional environment making me late for the most important meeting of my life. So do us both a favor. Take your kid and get back to whatever they're paying you minimum wage to do. Let the actual professionals handle the real work. Lisa looked up at her mother, confusion and hurt written all over her face. Valerie bent down and whispered something in her daughter's ear, then straightened up and faced Wayne directly. Mr. Carter, you're heading to the executive offices on the 40th floor, correct? For a meeting at 8 o'clock. Wayne stopped. His eyes narrowed. How do you know my name? Valerie adjusted the hard hat at her belt, her voice calm but laced with steel. Because I'm the person you're meeting with. My name is Valerie Hoisington. I own this building. I own the land it's built on. And I own the development company you've been begging to partner with for the last 3 months. The color drained from Wayne's face. For a moment, he looked like he might collapse. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. Valerie held his gaze. Now, you have 2 choices. You can get in that elevator with me and my daughter, go upstairs, and we can have the meeting you've been preparing for. Or you can leave. But understand this. The way you just spoke to me? That's the way you speak to someone when you think they don't matter. When you think they're beneath you. And you did it in front of my child. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Wayne's mind was racing. Ms. Hoisington. I didn't. I had no idea. If I had known. Valerie cut him off. If you had known, you would have treated me with respect? That's the problem, Mr. Carter. Respect shouldn't be conditional on someone's job title or bank account. It should be a given. But you didn't give it. You saw a woman in work clothes with a child and you made assumptions. You made judgments. And now we both know exactly who you are. She pressed the button for the elevator. The doors opened. She stepped inside with Lisa and held the door with her hand. Are you coming or not? Wayne hesitated. Every instinct told him to run. But he couldn't. His company was drowning. This deal was his only chance. He stepped into the elevator, his shoes squeaking, the coffee stain on his jacket a reminder of his mistake. The ride to the 40th floor was the longest 90 seconds of Wayne Carter's life. Valerie stood with her arm around Lisa's shoulders. The girl was quiet, staring at the floor. Wayne kept his eyes down too, his heart pounding. When the doors finally opened, Valerie turned to her daughter. "Baby, go wait in my office. There's coloring books in the bottom drawer, okay?" Lisa nodded and walked down the hallway without a word. Wayne watched her go, and for the first time, he felt something other than panic. He felt shame. The executive conference room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. A long mahogany table sat in the center, surrounded by leather chairs. Valerie set her hard hat and plans down on the table, then turned to face him. "Sit." Wayne sat. His hands were shaking. Valerie didn't sit. She stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, looking down at him. "I built this company from nothing, Mr. Carter. My late husband, Joseph, was a site supervisor. He died 8 years ago in a construction accident. Fell 3 stories when scaffolding collapsed. Left me with a baby, medical bills, and a failing business. Everyone told me to sell. Take the insurance money and walk away. Find an office job. Be realistic." She walked slowly around the table, her boots echoing in the quiet room. "They said a woman, especially a black woman with a baby, couldn't survive in this industry. That I'd be eaten alive. That I should think about my daughter's future and play it safe." She stopped directly across from Wayne. "They were wrong. I didn't just survive. I built an empire. 300 employees. 12 major developments across 4 states. I did it by working twice as hard as everyone else. By proving myself every single day. By missing school plays and parent-teacher conferences. By waking up at 4:30 in the morning and not getting home until after dark. By sacrificing time with my daughter so I could build something that would give her a better life." She picked up a folder from the table and slid it across to him. "That's your proposal. I read it 3 times. It's good. Really good. The numbers work. The projections are solid. If this meeting had gone differently, we would have signed a partnership agreement today." Wayne's eyes widened. Then we can still." Valerie shook her head. "No, Mr. Carter. We can't. Not because you insulted me. I've been insulted before. I can handle that. But because you did it in front of my child. You looked at a 9-year-old girl and made assumptions about her worth, her future, her mother's capabilities. You saw her sneakers, probably noticed they were a discount brand, and you judged. And in doing that, you showed me exactly who you are when nobody important is watching." Wayne's voice cracked. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But my company, my employees, this deal could save everything. Please, give me another chance." Valerie walked to the window and looked out at the city. "You know what my daughter asked me in the elevator? She asked if that man was right. If we don't belong here. If we're not good enough." She turned back to face him and there was fire in her eyes. She's 9 years old, and she's already been made to feel less than. By teachers who assume she can't keep up. By other parents who look at us like we don't belong in their neighborhood. By people like you who see a single mother and a child and make judgments. I spend every day trying to teach her that her worth isn't determined by what other people think. And then you come along and undo all of that in 30 seconds. She walked back to the table and sat down across from him. "I've been doing this for 15 years, Mr. Carter. In all that time, I've learned that the most dangerous people aren't the ones who lack skill. It's the ones who lack character. The ones who are kind when it benefits them and cruel when they think no one's watching. The ones who see humanity as a hierarchy instead of a level playing field." Wayne's eyes were red. "I don't know what to say." Valerie nodded. "There's nothing to say. The meeting is over." She stood up and gathered her things. Wayne sat frozen. "What happens now?" Valerie paused at the door. "Now, you go back to your company and figure out your next move. I genuinely hope you find a way to save your business. I don't wish failure on anyone. But I won't be part of it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn something from this." She looked at him one last time. "Maybe the next time you see a woman in work clothes, a single mother trying to make ends meet, a child whose shoes aren't brand new, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that you have no idea who they are, what they've accomplished, or what they're capable of. You'll remember that your judgment says more about you than it ever will about them." And then she was gone. Wayne sat in that conference room for 20 minutes, staring at the folder on the table. His phone buzzed with messages from his assistant, from his board members. He ignored them all. When he finally walked out, he passed Valerie's office. Through the glass door, he could see Lisa sitting at a small table, coloring. She looked up as he passed, and their eyes met for just a second. Then she looked back down at her coloring book. That look, that brief moment of eye contact from a 9-year-old girl, broke something in Wayne Carter that had been rigid and brittle for a very long time. 3 weeks later, Carter Properties filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The board of directors voted unanimously to remove Wayne as CEO. 2 of his largest clients terminated their contracts, citing concerns about the company's direction and leadership. Within 6 months, the company was dissolved entirely. Wayne lost everything. His reputation, his business, his standing in the industry. Word spreads fast in commercial real estate, and by the time the story got around, no one wanted to work with him. Not because of the bankruptcy. Because of how he'd treated Valerie Hoisington. Because people talk. And in an industry built on relationships and trust, character matters. But here's the part of the story that doesn't get told enough. 6 months after that meeting, Valerie was at a Habitat for Humanity build in East Charlotte. She does this twice a month, volunteers her time to help build affordable housing for families who need it. Lisa was with her that Saturday morning, wearing a miniature tool belt Valerie had gotten her for her 10th birthday, carrying small pieces of wood to help the crew. They were hammering siding onto a small house when Valerie looked up and saw someone familiar. Wayne Carter. He was wearing jeans, a faded t-shirt, and work gloves. He was carrying lumber. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. Lisa tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mom, isn't that the mean man?" Valerie squeezed her daughter's hand. "Yeah, baby. It is." Wayne walked over, set the lumber down, and stood there, hands in his pockets. "Ms. Hoisington." She set down her hammer. "Mr. Carter." Lisa moved closer to her mother, watching Wayne carefully. Wayne noticed, and his face crumbled slightly. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm just here because I needed to do something that mattered. Something that wasn't about money or deals or ego." Valerie nodded slowly. "That's good." Wayne looked down at his hands, then at Lisa. "I owe you an apology too, young lady. What I said that day in the parking garage was wrong. It was cruel. And you didn't deserve it." Lisa looked up at her mother, uncertain. Valerie gave her an encouraging nod. Lisa turned back to Wayne. "My mom says people make mistakes, but they have to try to be better." Wayne's eyes welled up. "Your mom is right. And she's also one of the strongest people I've ever met. You should be very proud of her." Lisa smiled a little. "I am. She builds buildings. And she's teaching me too." Wayne nodded, trying to compose himself. "That's wonderful. I'm glad you have her." He looked back at Valerie. "I think about that day every single day. What I said to you. How I treated you both. And I'm so deeply sorry. Not because it cost me my business, but because I was wrong. About everything." Valerie studied him for a moment, then picked up her hammer again. "You know what my husband used to tell me before he died? He said people aren't defined by their worst moments. They're defined by what they do after those moments. Whether they grow or whether they make excuses." She pointed to a stack of wood nearby. "We need help with the framing. If you're serious about being here, grab that circular saw and get to work." Wayne looked at her, surprised. "You'd let me help?" Valerie shrugged. "Everyone deserves a chance to build something good. Even people who've torn things down." Lisa tugged on her mother's vest. Is he going to work with us? Valerie smiled down at her daughter. Looks like it, baby. Wayne worked on that build for 6 hours. Lisa brought him water once and told him he was doing a good job, the way her mother had taught her to encourage the crews. Wayne thanked her, his voice thick with emotion. He came back the next week. And the week after that. He didn't talk much. He just worked. Measuring, cutting, hammering, lifting. The kind of work he'd spent 20 years believing was beneath him. 3 months later, Valerie saw him again at a different site. This time, he was teaching a teenager how to properly frame a wall. The kid was struggling, getting frustrated, and Wayne knelt down next to him, showed him the technique, encouraged him. Patient, kind, present. Lisa was playing nearby, and she ran over to show Wayne a bird's nest she'd found. He listened intently, asked questions, treated her with the same respect he'd show any adult. Valerie watched from across the lot and thought about foundations. About how sometimes you have to tear down a structure before you can build something stronger. About how her daughter was learning in real time that people can change. That redemption is possible. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but it can mean moving forward. Wayne Carter never got his company back. He never returned to the world of high-stakes real estate development. Instead, he started a small nonprofit that teaches construction skills to at-risk youth and formerly incarcerated individuals. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make headlines. But it matters. Last year, 43 people graduated from his program. 39 of them found full-time employment in the trades. Wayne runs the program out of a converted warehouse. He drives a 10-year-old pickup truck. He wears steel-toed boots and faded jeans. Every morning, when he walks into that warehouse, he remembers the day he learned that respect isn't something you give based on what someone can do for you. It's something you give because every person, regardless of their job or their background, deserves it. Valerie Hoisington's company is now one of the largest minority-owned construction firms in the Southeast. Last year, she broke ground on a 52-story mixed-use development in downtown Atlanta. The project will include 200 units of affordable housing, retail space, and a community center. Lisa, now 10 years old, wants to be an architect. She draws buildings in her notebooks during class. She tells her friends her mom builds skyscrapers. When asked about Wayne Carter in a recent interview, Valerie said this: "I don't believe in public humiliation. I don't believe in revenge. But I do believe in accountability. I believe that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. And I believe that people can change if they're willing to do the hard work." She was asked if she regretted not giving Wayne a second chance that day in the conference room. She thought for a moment, then shook her head. No, because giving him that deal would have sent the wrong message. It would have said that bad behavior is acceptable if you apologize well enough. That cruelty can be overlooked if someone is desperate enough. I couldn't do that. Not for him, and not for all the other people who might have been watching. Not for my daughter. She paused. But I'm glad he found his way. I'm glad he's doing good work now. And I'm glad my daughter got to see that people can change. That's an important lesson. Maybe more important than any business deal. So what can we learn from this story? First, that how you treat people when you think they can't do anything for you reveals everything about your character. Wayne Carter made a split-second judgment based on prejudice and assumptions. He paid the price. But more importantly, we learn that redemption is possible. Not through apologies or excuses, but through action. Through humility. Through the hard, unglamorous work of becoming a better person. Wayne lost his empire, but he found something more valuable. He found purpose. He found meaning. He found a way to contribute that wasn't about power or status or wealth. And Valerie. She stayed true to her principles. She didn't compromise her values for a business deal. She didn't let someone else's desperation override her standards. And in doing so, she sent a message that echoed far beyond that conference room. A message that said, respect is not negotiable. Dignity is not conditional. And every person, regardless of their job title, their race, their background, deserves to be treated with humanity. She also taught her daughter something invaluable. Lisa got to see her mother stand up for herself. She got to see that being underestimated doesn't define you. She got to see that kindness and strength aren't opposites, they're partners. And she got to see that the world might try to tell you who you are, but you get to decide. Think about the people you interact with every day. The barista who makes your coffee. The janitor who cleans your office. The construction worker directing traffic on your commute. The single parent juggling work and childcare in the grocery store checkout line. Do you see them? Really see them? Or do you see their uniforms, their titles, their perceived position in some imaginary hierarchy?